Hello, welcome. Welcome to the webinar. I'm just going to turn my heating on before I cook. Right, we're going to talk about SmartLawn Spring and Summer fertilisers today. And before I begin, just want to mention a few things. So this webinar is being recorded. So everybody will be sent out a recording, a link to the recording of the webinar, probably tomorrow afternoon. So if you do have to leave halfway through or you've missed the whole thing, don't worry, you can record it. You can watch the recording. If you have a question as we go along, please pop it in the chat. You should be able to chat, send a public message or one directly to myself. You can also ask a question in the Q&A section, and I'll try to answer some of those at the end. I also have Jack Baxter, who's in the chat room, who will help me with answering questions. So let's begin. Or if you have any further questions, or if you're watching a replay and you have a question, please do email those to sales@greenbest.co.uk, or you can call us on 01963 364 788, and then we will get back to you with those answers. So let's begin the slides. My first webinar, right. Okay, so the reason for this webinar basically is to talk about the spring summer fertilisers. This year we've had a lot of questions about the differences between them, a bit of confusion as to which one is the best one to go for, and I thought probably best to get a webinar done just to address some of these questions, and hopefully this will be what you need. So here we are. We're just going to talk about the four main spring summer fertilisers that we offer this year. Ultimate, Drought Safe being our main two that we've sold for many years. SpringGreenLite and SummerSafeLite being the two that we have new this year. I'm also going to talk about those and why we have them. And the differences between all of these, when you might apply them, how the applications will differ depending on the weather, etc. And at the end, we'll have a look at some of the other products in the range to see if any of those are of interest to you. Let's get straight in with Ultimate. So this is our best-selling spring fertiliser and has been for at least 10 years. When I started in GreenBest in 2014, it was one of the big ones that we sold most of. And this is suited to a normal spring with regular rain. So Ultimate is a high nitrogen, high impact spring fertiliser. It's NPK of 2510. You might notice actually that we brought the nitrogen level down from 22 to 20% this year. A little bit of that was to reduce the cost of the product, because obviously with increasing fertiliser material costs, that was creeping up a little bit. But also we're starting to see a trend for use of lower nitrogen feeds. And it's quite it's a sort of sustainability move for us to reduce nitrogen input into lawns and try and improve the soil biology and the health of the lawn, to get more better, greener lawns instead of just applying nitrogen on there. So within Ultimate, 50% of the nitrogen is coated with a polymer. This is the Nutrilon V90 coating product that we put in there. And this is a 3-month release product. The other half of the nitrogen is from ammonium sulfate and urea. This is a standard release, or sometimes what we call fast release nitrogen material. So this is a 4 to 6 week release. So you see this curve here I've got on this graph. The release profile of Ultimate is very much front loaded. You apply it, it gets rained in, you get this flush of growth in green colour. And then the Nutrilon V90 is responsible for continuing that green and that growth until the end of the period, which is about 12 weeks. So this is very much a 3-month product. It can be applied in the spring and then potentially in the summer, and you don't get much of a drop in the appearance of the lawn. Ultimate is available in both granule sizes, that's 1 to 2 millimeters and 2 to 3 millimeters. You'll notice that for our main fertilizers, Ultimate and Drought Safe especially, we still do both granule sizes, and you have a choice there. And the reason we still do this is because our customers are 50-50 split. So there's no clear winner. We can't decide which one to get rid of, and therefore we just keep doing both of them. They both have benefits. So, for example, the larger grade, as you're spreading it, if you're doing it with a broadcast spreader, the larger granules have a tendency to fly further. So if you're doing a larger area, you can cover that lawn a lot quicker and save some time. You can also see that fertiliser once it's applied to the lawn. The customers can see it, so they can be rest assured that, yes, something has been applied. Whereas the smaller granules, they are much better for even nutrient coverage. If you want to drop the application rate, go down to more like 20 grams per square metre, you can do this with the mini grade because there's more granules per square metre, much more even coverage. Also, the smaller particles dissolve a lot quicker. So if you want something that's going to react a little bit faster, then the mini grade is for you. So that's the reason we do both granule sizes. I've put some information here in the middle, application rate, bag coverage, etc. That's usually included in the SmartLawn product guide that we hand out. But you will be able to download a copy of these slides at the end of my presentation. So don't worry, if you want to keep a copy of this for your records, you will be able to do that. So Ultimate, as you guessed, is a spring fertiliser. In addition to the nitrogen, we've got some phosphorus in there and some potassium. These are all year round nutrients. Phosphorus is required for root development, potassium famously used for autumn treatments, but is really important for drought tolerance as well. So it's really important to get some potassium into your spring feed so that when you come to the summer, if we have a really dry one, the lawn is a little bit better prepared. We've also got some magnesium, 2.5% magnesium in this, and that just helps with a bit of green up. If the temperatures are a bit low and the nitrogen's not really kicking in, then the magnesium will help with that. Also, magnesium, it's quite good for plant health overall. My Ultimate is a spring fertiliser. That's what it's designed for. Moving on to Drought Safe. This is our summer fertiliser. This has been a best-selling fertiliser for us, again, for another 10 years, definitely since I started at GreenBest. It was designed basically by our customers. Back in the day, it was Tim and James who were the main salespeople, and they used to get lawn care customers coming to them and saying, it's too hot, it's too dry, I can't do any work, I can't apply anything because I can't make sure it's going to get rained in. So you need you to help me out and make something for me. So this is where Drought Safe comes from, this need to have something for the summer. And it's just always been in our repertoire, basically. So it's designed to be applied in any weather, even in drought conditions, allows you to get on with your treatments worry-free. It won't do anything until the rain comes. So if you are applying it, say, June, July, and it's been quite dry for a while, and it's going to be quite dry for the next couple of weeks, don't expect it to do anything because it will need the water to start releasing the nutrients and to wash those into the soil. But you are still obviously able to do the work and just leave the lawn and not worry about it. So with Drought Safe, the main difference is, obviously apart from the NPK being slightly different, the main difference is the fact that none of the nitrogen in there is fast release or sort of, scorch potential nitrogen. So actually 80% of the nitrogen in this product is coated Nutrilon V90 controlled release urea, and then the other 20% of it is from Onyx, which is our biostimulant granule. That's the black granules that you can see in the pictures there on the right. So this is a really nice mix. You see from the results from the release curve on the graph there, that because there's more slow release, controlled release nitrogen, it really flattens off that release pattern. You don't get that initial boost of nitrogen with the growth and the green up. It's much more of a overall curve, and that's really what we want to have happen, especially in the summer. We want the rain to come and it to start getting greener. The onyx as well is really good because it's a biostimulant. It will help the grass stay greener for longer as we go into drought. And when we start to come out of that, when the rain returns, it will start to help the lawn grow greener quicker and come back quicker. In the Drought Safe, we also have some phosphorus and potassium. Again, these are also important to have all year round. Phosphorus actually moves really slowly in the soil. It needs to be watered down really well. So we tend to apply it a little bit all through the year rather than having it, once a year, because it wouldn't really do very much over the course of the year. So a little bit often is what we tend to go for with that one. Drought Safe is our summer fertiliser, and obviously the main difference being the coating. Historically, Onyx has been a lot more expensive than Ultimate, which is why people don't generally tend to apply Drought Safe all year round, or at least in the spring and the summer. They would usually go for Ultimate in the spring because Ultimate is a bit cheaper and obviously save a bit of money. But technically, you could apply Drought Safe in the spring if you wanted to, and it would be quite a good product for that. So I just want to go back to our SmartLawn product list here, and the whole idea behind SmartLawn is that it's a short list of professional lawn fertilisers, and we've got select products on there that are just really easy to choose, make it as simple as possible. So on the left here, 2014, that's what our price list used to look like. Made my eyes bleed. So we used to have 26 products in the lawn care price list, as it was known back then, and it was just so complicated because there was 4 or 5 options for spring, and it was constantly conversations with customers, and they were confused because they didn't know what the difference was and they couldn't decide. So we thought, right, let's just really cut that all out. So we've got the SmartLawn price list that we've had for a few years now, which works really well. Drought Safe, Ultimate, Autumn Green, First and Last, those have been really good. Those core fertilisers, really simple, very popular, no problems with that at all. Of course, recently there have been some very large price increases. We're looking at sort of, in the worst case for urea, to buy it in, 128% increase. This is why you'll see your bag prices go up. And it's really just been quite difficult for a lot of our customers to manage. So at the beginning of the year, we sat around and we knew this was going to be an issue going into the spring and the summer. Jack and myself and the rest of the sales team, we sat there and we thought, well, what can we do? Well, because we are not a company that buy all of our fertilizers pre-made 10 months in advance and keep them in a warehouse, and we're actually manufacturing as and when we need it, and we can keep stock in very small quantities, we actually thought, well, let's just add a couple new products to the list. So this is where we have SpringGreenLite and SummerSafeLite, and these 2 products we thought would be a nice temporary addition to the range, just to help bring the cost down a little bit. It basically has been designed to fit in with the prices you were used to for Ultimate and Drought Safe, although actually since then they have gone up again even more. And they're therefore not necessarily, for spring at least, having to pass that cost increase on to the customers by just taking a product that was maybe slightly lower in nitrogen, obviously would produce a slightly lower effect. Obviously, Drought Safe and Smart and Ultimate are still available, but I'm sure if you are existing customers, you'll have seen the prices and be aware as to how they've been affected. So we'll have a look at those now. So SpringGreenLite, this is the equivalent of Ultimate. We reduced the nitrogen in this to 15%, just enough to reduce the cost, but not enough to greatly affect the result of the fertiliser. We figured that customers would take a hit on grass growth to save a bit of money this year in particular. And we also know that a few of our customers use Autumn Green in the spring, and they actually get really good results, and that is only a 10-5-10. So we know this fertiliser is going to work. We altered the release pattern slightly. This was done because we was done by adding NMAX controlled stabilized nitrogen in there. So instead of having 50% coated controlled release, we now have 25% stabilized nitrogen, 25% coated Neutral B90 controlled release, and still the 50% ammonium sulfate standard release nitrogen. So the NMAX, if you're unaware, is urea, but it is coated with a urease inhibitor, which basically prevents the bacteria in the soil from converting that to a usable form of nitrogen. So it is not as controlled release as the coated, which is more like 12 weeks, but it's not as fast release as the standard, which is 4 to 6 weeks. It's more like 6 to 8 weeks. So in terms of release pattern for this product, it actually drags out that initial release phase a little bit, bringing the sort of nitrogen back towards the sort of 7-8 weeks before it starts to tail off. We kept the phosphorus and potassium in SpringGreenLite because those are, again, are really important and don't want the lawns to suffer as we go into a possibly dry summer. So potassium was really important. And the 2.5% magnesium we felt was really important to keep, especially since we were dropping the nitrogen. We wanted to make sure that it had every chance of greening up the lawn as possible. We'll note that both SpringGreenLite and SummerSafeLite are both only available in the 2 to 3 ml granules. This is because we identified a cost saving in only doing one granule size, sort of storage and handling factors. So we use that and pass the saving on in the product price. So the price of these products is brought down even more just by having one granule size available. The SpringGreenLite obviously is a spring product. This is a sort of copy of Ultimate. And the SummerSafeLite similarly is a copy of Drought Safe. This is the summer product. So here we dropped the nitrogen down to 15% again. Nitrogen still comes from controlled release coated Neutral B90 and still also from Onyx. So in terms of a nitrogen availability and scorch potential, it's no different really. We dropped the phosphorus because we felt it wasn't necessarily that important in this particular product, and really we just needed to save a little bit of cost there somewhere, so we dropped the nitrogen, but we did keep the potassium because, again, drought tolerance, and this is a summer product. So the release pattern of SummerSafeLite, as you'll see, is again quite extended, very similar to the Drought Safe. Light products are great alternatives this year, actually, especially if you're not looking to pass that cost on to your customers. But again, they were temporary measures. So, I mean, we could introduce them as fertilizers going forward, and this is an option. So definitely look out for a survey coming to your inbox at some point in the autumn, because we will rely on your feedback to decide whether or not to keep them. Again, it's dependent on cost, isn't it? And let's talk a bit about when to apply these. So Ultimate and Spring Green are spring fertilizers. Obviously, the window for application of these is of any of these is basically March to April. That's ideal application period. But there are certain times which they would be best. Ultimate and Spring Green being spring fertilizers, we recommend these from March to May. These will need watering in or rain. And when we say watering in, we're not saying 10 minutes of standing there with a hose pipe. It's at least half an hour of actual, really good sprinkler action, especially if it's not rained in the last week. So if you get a dry spring, you will need to water it in. And then the Drought Safe, again, could be applied in the spring, but historically has been quite a bit more expensive than Drought and Ultimate per bag. So Drought Safe usually used in the summer only when it's necessary. But this, June, July, August, this is the ideal time for Drought Safe. Doesn't need to be watered in, not a problem, don't worry about it. One thing I would like to point out is that Drought Safe will not stop the lawn going brown. So if it gets really hot and dry and the lawn has no moisture, the lawn will go into a dormant state. It will go brown. There's basically no fertiliser you can apply that will stop that. So just be aware of that. Basically, if a customer does want to stop a lawn from going brown, it's going to be at least an hour of watering, at least once a week to stop that from happening. Using that much water might not necessarily be something they can afford. I know the UK Lawn Care Association did have a tool on their website where customers could go and put in their lawn area and their water board that they're with, and that would tell them how much their lawn would cost to water. That might be something of use to you and your customers. So yeah, basically these can be applied anytime, and the main difference is going to be the cost. It's either going to be nitrogen and release pattern or the cost. So it's really sort of up to you. But this year we have seen a lot of SpringGreenLite and SummerSafeLite being sold, very much those two products, and that is basically just on cost because the other products have increased so much. Right, so let's have a look before we go at some of the other products. So I did mention autumn green before, and this is our best-selling autumn fertiliser, but actually we have a lot of people that use it in the spring and they find it's really quite effective for that. The nitrogen level is very low, it's only 10%, and only 50% of that is controlled release. So in a lawn where you'd be applying this, you're not necessarily relying on nitrogen to give you the green and the growth. So this is possibly an option if you wanted to go lower nitrogen. Autumn green would be a safer option than ultimate in the spring if there was no watering going on, no lawn watering. It could be a good option. Obviously it's a bit cheaper than ultimate and Drought Safe as well. So seed starter, as the name suggests, would be used if you're seeding a new lawn, or overseeding or turfing a new lawn, for example. You can do this in the spring. A lot of you do in the spring with your renovations, etc. Again, there's no need to water seed starter in technically, but if you're applying seed or you're laying turf, that will need to be watered in. So there, the watering requirement is slightly different. But seed starter could be used in the summer if you are watering it anyway, so that would be fine. Stretch on the end there, the last one, is an unusual one. It's a 6-month release. So if you wanted to drop your summer treatment entirely, you could apply this now, then you wouldn't have to go back to the autumn. It's been designed primarily for businesses whose focus is not on lawn treatments. So that could be landscapers or gardeners who maybe don't have time to do 4 treatments a year and they'd rather just, fertiliser a couple of times a year and be done with it. So the stretch is quite good for that. And now is an ideal time for stretch, really, because the rain will come, will water in the standard release nitrogen, and then that 6-month coating product will actually release it slowly until the autumn. So we have a few other spring summer products that might be of interest. Let's take a look at Onyx first. Onyx Liquid. This is a liquid version of the granular Onyx that we have in our Drought Safe and SummerSafeLite products. It's brilliant for spring application to get the soil and lawn in great health, actually, and will keep the lawn greener for longer as the dry months approach. Could also help the lawn bounce back quicker, and it works by feeding the soil biology. So this improves the balance and therefore actually supports the plants, helps them grow healthier and greener. So it's a general all-round good biostimulant. The seaweed extract as well, that's a classic biostimulant that's been used for many, many years. It's good for improving overall health. It's probably more suited to late autumn or maybe early spring. So Onyx Liquid out of the 2 would be my choice for this time of year, especially, and for summer. In terms of watering in, both of these are liquid applications. If you could apply with enough water to actually get it to hit the soil level rather than just stay on the leaf, so you want a root application rather than foliar, then you'll get the best use out of it. But neither of them would cause any scorch problems if they were applied with enough water. So we also have on this list liquid wetting agent. We sold this for many years, and this is great if you have a customer who has a lawn suffering from dry patch. There's a patch in a lawn that goes brown first every year. It could be that the water can't be retained in that soil very well, so a little bit of liquid wetting agent to that could really help, and that would need to be applied now, not as we get into summer. So do it now, and that will help the lawn as we go into a warmer summer. And Satragran, which actually none of you will have heard of yet, but this is a brand new product for us. This is a granular wetting agent, which I've been asked for so many times over the years, which is crazy. But finally, we have one. We've been doing lots of tests. Last year, we had a few golf courses using it, and they really liked it. So we're going to release that very soon, and definitely watch out for a webinar on that one. Or maybe an email or two come into your inbox. It is actually already available for sale and will be on the customer portal if you want to check it out. Go and do that in a minute. So there we are. So that's basically my webinar for today. I'll just share the files with you in a moment. So I've got a table here of the 4 main products we talked about, a bit of a summary table. Obviously, they're all available to use from spring till summer, but the ultimate SpringGreenLite are more spring-based products. Drought Safe, SummerSafeLite, more summer products. The summer ones are fine, non-scorch, don't need watering in. The spring ones, yes, please water in or use the rain. The light products, obviously, 1 granule size. And all of them, longevity-wise, 3 months from the point at which they obviously watered in. If Drought Safe is sat on the lawn for a whole month without having any watering, then it's not going to do anything for 3 months, and then it will just be sat there, and then it will work for 3 months from the point at which it's watered in. So if you are an existing customer, you'll be able to see the live prices of these products on the customer portal. If you're not an existing customer, please just drop us an email, and Jack and myself will be happy to send across the prices to you. If you are a customer and you don't have the portal, that literally just takes a quick phone call to Tanya or an email, and we'll get you set up. And the customer portal I talk about, this is a new thing for this year. So it's somewhere you can log in. You have a personalised price list, so you can see the products. The SmartLawn products will be there. Also, anything that you have formulated for yourself that is bespoke, that will be there. And all those prices are updated regularly. We're on a 2 weekly price update at the moment. So every 2 weeks, the prices are updating according to the current material prices. And obviously, it's a bit of a turbulent time, but we are still expecting prices to increase even further. So if you're thinking about your summer fertiliser now and you have the space to take it, I would encourage you to do that, because you could, if you're waiting till late June, you could see that it's increased in price quite a lot more. Okay, let's just make sure we have all questions answered. I see Jack has been helping me out with the answers and the questions, so that's really good. And I think everybody has had an answer. So if you have any further questions after we're gone, please, yes, just email sales@greenbest.co.uk. Myself and Jack will answer questions for you. That's great. I hope to see you at the next webinar. We'll send some information through. Keep an eye on the Green Best blog. That's my presentation. And thank you for joining me.